Hi everyone. I promised you an overview of the midterm recorded today, so I'm going to give it to you now. I don't have slides because I have a project I'm working on with the software that I use the slides for that's running in the background and won't be done for a couple more hours. So I wanted to get this out to you. So I'm just going to use the plain text, and I will give you a copy of this plain text in Canvas as well. So rules, basic rules of the exam. I'll give you formulas in mathematical notation. You don't get to bring your own formula sheet. CASA doesn't allow that. You may bring a calculator. Proctors have been notified you're allowed to bring a calculator any kind. Or you can use the on-screen calculator that I've activated. It will be available to you in Lockdown Browser. There should be a fairly obvious way to open it. Those formulas also, I haven't done it yet, but I think I'm going to be able to set it up where there will also be a thing that you can click on to get the formulas from any question. So wherever you're at in the exam, you'll be able to go see the formulas. If not, I'll provide them with every question. Uh, you have to follow Proctor instructions. Um, I guess I'll back up to the calculator. You're not going to need anything more complex than plus, minus, multiply, divide, and square root. So you don't need anything more than that. Um, so uh, you don't need to bring in like a graphing calculator with 700 functions. You're probably just going to confuse yourself more than if you just have a regular calculator. But whatever kind you want to bring is fine. You have to follow Proctor instructions. You get one attempt. This is a testing center rule. There aren't any breaks. You need to get to the testing center prepared for the 30 minutes to an hour that you're going to have to be in the testing center. Just be prepared for it. Um, there are no makeup exams. If you miss the midterm exam for any reason, family emergency, medical emergency, flat tire, uh, best friend's girlfriend's hamster died, whatever, um, you can miss it. That's fine. I don't need an excuse. I trust you as an adult. Whatever the reason was, even if it was the best friend's girlfriend's hamster funeral, I trust you that that was important enough to miss it for. Um, and the makeup is automatic. There isn't a makeup. The final exam percentage times 250 is what you'll get for the midterm. So there is real incentive to be at the midterm when you're supposed to be for two reasons. Number one, the final exam will be harder. Um, it's better to get the points you can. Number two, there are some extra points on the midterm. You don't get those. You get 250 times your final exam percentage if you miss the midterm. Format, 34 questions. You'll get 60 minutes to complete them. If you have extra time, if you're taking the exam in the Dart Center, you'll get your extra time. But the 34 questions, I doubt anyone is going to actually even need extra time. If you're entitled to it, you'll get it, but I doubt you'll need it. Plenty of time for these, so nobody should have to have any anxiety about time. The questions are going to be entirely multiple choice, true, false, multiple answer. Each question is going to be worth 8 semester points for a total of 272. Semester point scale requires 250 for a perfect score. So that means you're going to get, if you get an actual perfect score, you're going to have 22 extra points coming out of this. If you get 90%, you're still going to have 90% of 272 is pretty close to 250. There are no actual extra credit questions, but yeah, if you get 90%, you're going to have 245. Uh, so um, so basically, there are just floating hard questions, and there are enough questions that there are extra points. Um, What are the specific questions? So computation questions, you're going to get 3 single variable data sets. That is, they'll just be, I may not even label them X. They're just going to be uh, a series of numbers. And you're going to find the mean, median, mode, variance, and standard deviation for each one of those. You will have those formulas, but I really, really, really cannot recommend strongly enough just knowing the process. Reading the formulas can be confusing, especially if you're new to it. They are good for jogging your memory to some extent, but I really just, when I learned to do this, I learned the process for those. And I was as confused as anybody until I really learned the process of especially what the variance is and how it relates to the mean, how you get it. If you understand that, and then the standard deviation is just, oh, the square root. Um, so you'll have 3 of those. That's 15 questions, so almost half the questions. Uh, Computation questions, the second type, you'll have 5 questions where you're given one or more previously computed statistics and asked to find one or more other statistics or parameters. So I might give you the sample standard deviation and say, what is our estimate of the population standard deviation? That one should be pretty easy. But I might give you the variance and say, what's the standard deviation? Well, that one should be pretty easy too. Or I might give you the standard deviation and ask you what the variance is. Um, it's they're going to be pretty simple, but I also may give you some extra information you don't need, so you may have to look through it and say, what do I really need here? Um, so that's 20 points out of 34. So finally, there will be 14 conceptual questions. These are going to be based on core concepts from the book, from the lectures, or from article discussions. You can find them in the syllabus topics before March 11th, and actually probably mostly before next week, because not before next week, that makes no sense. Before last week, because last week was kind of wrap up. So I think we covered a little bit at the beginning of last week that may have been new. Um, but if you know everything before last week, you should have most of it. And last week hopefully is fresh enough in your mind, and enough of it was review that you should be okay there. Um, how are they breaking down? So 5 of the questions are going to be sea level. These are basic concepts you need to know at a minimum to demonstrate sea level mastery. Um, about 5 of them are going to be B level. So these are average level difficulty concepts that you need to know B level mastery to show that you B level mastery. If I were giving you this exam and I were going to say, your grade is going to be based on this exam for the first half of the semester, those C level concepts are the things that if you're going to earn a C in the class, you got to have them. The B level are the things you would need to show that you deserve a good grade. A C grade is an acceptable, average, fair grade. C's get degrees. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not a good grade. A B grade is, and C's qualify, the credit counts if you're a political science major. The credit counts for the math core reasoning classes. Um, B level is a good grade. That's actually what it is. It's not an excellent grade, it's a good grade. If you, so 5 of them will be the things that you should need to know to be called a good, to say you have good mastery of this. Some of these may involve answering a relatively easy question about an article excerpt. So I might give you a paragraph from an article and say, what is the dependent variable? That's so, but I'm not going to require you to remember an article, and I'm not going to ask you anything super complicated even about an excerpt, but I may ask you something like, what's the dependent variable? What's the puzzle or question? And if I do that, it's going to be very obvious. It'll be a question. Um, the B plus level are the things that show that you have a good level of mastery and almost excellent. So this one may or is very likely to involve some questions about topics that we discussed in class when we were discussing the articles. Now, there are also going to be topics that were discussed in lecture or covered in the book. But for example, in a lot of the lectures, we talked about things like random sampling or external validity, internal validity, and the articles gave examples of them. So I may ask you some questions related to articles about things we discussed in class. These are going to be 2 questions, and they're not all going to be related to the article, but you should probably expect that at least one of them will. A level. These are critical thinking questions. These are the things that if we were going to grade just on these conceptual questions alone, you have to get these to get an A, which is an excellent grade. An excellent grade isn't just about memorization, that's C level. It's not just about base level application, that's B level. It's about actual critical thinking where you apply knowledge at a deeper level to get a reasonable answer. You apply something to something that has not been discussed. This is likely going to include applying a core concept to an article excerpt. So it won't be as easy as the B level. I give you an article excerpt and say, what's the dependent variable? It will be more complicated than that. It may or may not include an article. It may just be conceptual thinking. It may be a hypothetical question not from an article. This is needed to demonstrate A-level mastery. On the test, remember this exam is 250 points out of 1,000. There are 22 extra points on the exam. You don't actually have to get an A to get an A for the class. Remember, you do need to have 50% to pass with a C, and you're required to have an exam average of about 85 to 88% to get an A. So you need to be answering the B plus level, or at least the B level, to get an A for the class. If you get A level stuff, if you get all 272 points on this, you are set. You're well set for the class. Like, you can miss some other things. Note that any level of difficulty question may refer to an article as an example. So even the C level questions, I might mention something about a specific article just to help jog your memory. You won't have to remember article details in order to answer the question. There will be enough other information in the C level questions that you can answer it if you've got C level mastery. But the whole point of the articles was to further illustrate concepts. And so if I give you a little more information, it's not intended, especially for those C level ones and the B level ones too, to some extent, it's not really intended to make them harder. It's intended to help jog your memory and maybe make them a little bit easier. So I'm going to post this in a few minutes. Obviously, by the time you watch this, it's not a few minutes anymore. It's already done. But I'm going to post this. Good luck on the midterm. Remember, we will not have class Monday or Wednesday. Once you have got the midterm out of the way, other than reading the article for the next time, and I'll probably post asking for your comments on the next article probably Monday after spring break as a deadline on that. But other than that, enjoy your spring break, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.